When palace aides describe Sarah Ferguson as a wild card, they're not exaggerating. With her past of emotional oversharing and current financial desperation, her potential tell-all interview has Buckingham Palace on high alert. The fear isn't just about what she might say, it's about what she might contradict. Her previous praise for Jeffrey Epstein, her self-proclaimed innocence, and her closeness to Prince Andrew have already drawn suspicion. Now, with cameras possibly rolling, her unfiltered version of events could trigger a full-scale royal crisis. This isn't just a reputational concern, it's a credibility test for the entire institution. If Ferguson's narrative clashes with past statements or reveals new, damaging links.
If you want more unfiltered royal truth, not the palace-approved version, hit like, subscribe and tell us in the comments, are Beatrice and Eugenie breaking the cycle or repeating history? Stay tuned. The tea only gets hotter.
The risk isn't just embarrassment, it's exposure. Sarah Ferguson is circling a media moment that could change everything, not just for her, but for the entire British royal family. Multiple US broadcasters have reportedly placed six-figure offers on the table for a single interview. 1 hour, one chair, one chance to speak freely. And what she has to say. It could trigger a crisis even deeper than Prince Andrew's 2019 disaster of an interview with the BBC. This is not a fluffy royal recap. The focus is serious. Ferguson's first-hand knowledge of Prince Andrew's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, his refusal to cooperate with US authorities, and her own questionable ties to Epstein friendship, finances, and everything in between. And the timing of this potential disclosure could not be more damaging. The monarchy is already in a state of managed fragility. King Charles is trying to usher in a leaner, scandal-free image. Prince Andrew is effectively exiled. And Ferguson, she's reportedly being pushed out of the royal lodge. That's right, after years of quietly cohabiting with Andrew post-divorce, she's now being squeezed out of the one place she still had ties to royal life. She's not just separated from Andrew in status, she's literally being evicted from the estate. So when lucrative US interview offers start rolling in, the motivation becomes crystal clear. Financial desperation, the desire to clear her name, and the opportunity to control the narrative for once in her life. Ferguson has reason to say yes. And inside Buckingham Palace, the anxiety is real. There's concern that she speak too freely, not just about Andrew, but about the monarchy's broader relationship with Epstein and others linked to him. Ferguson lived in the royal lodge during some of Andrew's most controversial years. Her daily proximity, her interactions, her witness to it all, she doesn't need to speculate. She was there. And for the royals, that proximity is a threat. Because even if she doesn't intend to damage the monarchy, even if her goal is simply self-preservation, she could still trigger a wave of fresh scrutiny just by sharing what she observed. Ferguson is known for being emotionally candid. That emotional rawness is what makes her unpredictable. The palace can't control what she might say or what she might contradict. That's what scares them. There's a real risk that Ferguson could unintentionally confirm long-whispered suspicions. Even slight inconsistencies between her account and Andrew's previous statements could unravel years of palace messaging. It only takes one misstep, one phrase that contradicts the official line to restart the firestorm. Let's not forget, this is a royal family that spent years shielding Andrew from the worst of the Epstein fallout. Even after his excruciating Newsnight appearance, which backfired so catastrophically it became a global punchline, the palace did everything it could to minimize the damage. They removed his titles. They cut his public roles. But they stopped short of full accountability. That silence, that wall of discretion, is what kept the scandal from fully engulfing the institution. Now Sarah Ferguson might be holding a match. And it's not just about what she knows. It's about the perception that she's finally willing to talk. If she opens up about Andrew's refusal to cooperate with US authorities, or her own interactions with Epstein, however innocently she frames them, it could deepen the crisis. Especially given that Epstein's ties to powerful figures are under renewed legal and congressional investigation. And the clock is ticking. With growing political pressure in the US and a public increasingly demanding transparency, even the smallest admission could trigger legal consequences or, at the very least, sustain public outrage. Andrew, meanwhile, is reportedly not handling this well. Sources suggest he's told Ferguson to stay physically away from him, despite them still technically sharing the royal lodge. That detail alone highlights how fractured their relationship has become. What was once a surprisingly functional post-divorce partnership now appears strained to the point of total collapse, and Andrew has every reason to be concerned. His legal troubles aren't over. He's still being investigated. he's still denying all allegations. But any public interview that brings renewed attention to his past, especially from someone who lived with him, adds pressure he's clearly not prepared to handle. Ferguson, for her part, seems motivated by both self-preservation and a desire for a public reset. She reportedly views the interview as a way to shift perception, to portray herself as naive, loyal, even manipulated. Not complicit, not corrupt, just caught in the middle of something larger than she understood. That framing might help her earn some sympathy, but it's risky, because her public comments about Epstein, including calling him a supreme friend and accepting money linked to him, are well documented. Any effort to distance herself from him now may be met with skepticism. The public has a long memory and a low tolerance for selective honesty. Still, the prospect of a major payday combined with the chance to rewrite her narrative may prove too tempting, especially considering her current financial state. Stripped of royal privilege, cut off from royal income, and facing eviction, Ferguson is out of options.
If you want more unfiltered royal truth, not the palace-approved version, hit like, subscribe and tell us in the comments, are Beatrice and Eugenie breaking the cycle or repeating history? Stay tuned. The tea only gets hotter.
Even if she carefully scripts her responses, the risk of backlash is high. The media will analyze her body language. Journalists will cross-reference her answers with past statements. Legal teams will dissect her every word for potential leads. The pressure will be enormous. And that's before we even consider the political ramifications. If her interview coincides with congressional investigations or public hearings into Epstein's network, it could become a flashpoint: international headlines, renewed subpoenas, public demands for accountability. Her decision to speak could have legal and diplomatic consequences far beyond the UK. The monarchy, of course, will try to distance itself. If she proceeds, they'll call her a private citizen, an outsider. But that won't work. Her royal connection is precisely why the media and the public cares. She may not wear a title anymore, but she still carries royal knowledge. And that knowledge, once aired, cannot be undone. So the palace waits. Andrew waits. The press waits. And Ferguson, knowingly or not, now holds a kind of power she hasn't had in years. Whether she uses it to shield herself, expose others, or simply stay relevant, the outcome will ripple far beyond her own reputation. One interview could plunge the royal family back into full crisis mode. So what's next? Will Ferguson take the money, sit in front of the cameras, and pull back the curtain? Or will she retreat under pressure and stay silent? Either way, the damage may already be done. The threat alone has reignited a conversation the monarchy desperately wants buried. And if she does speak, the fallout could be historic. What do you think? Should Sarah go through with it? Would you want to hear what she has to say? Or has this scandal already gone far enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you're watching this story closely, and subscribe if you want to stay updated as this situation unfolds. Because one way or another, this royal chapter is far from over. The gravity of Sarah Ferguson's potential tell-all interview can't be overstated. Because this isn't just a personal revelation, it's a direct collision between royal legacy and public accountability. And if she speaks, she won't just be telling her story. She'd be reshaping the narrative around one of the most sensitive, scandal-ridden sagas the royal family has ever faced. Let's start with the facts. Ferguson lived inside the storm. While Prince Andrew's now infamous ties to Jeffrey Epstein grew into a public relations nightmare, she remained one of his few vocal defenders. They weren't just exes co-parenting from a distance, they shared a residence, a lifestyle, a daily routine. At a time when Andrew's public life was disintegrating, Sarah was physically in the same home. She saw it all. And now, according to reports, she's weighing offers to go on record in front of US television cameras. High-paying offers. The kind of offers that come with editorial freedom and massive audiences. The kind of offers that terrify Buckingham Palace. Because she doesn't need to make accusations or drop names to cause chaos. Her mere willingness to discuss Andrew, Epstein, and the monarchy's behind-the-scenes conduct during that era is enough to cause serious reputational harm. Especially now, with the monarchy walking on eggshells in the post-Elizabeth era. The palace's concerns aren't based on theory, they're based on precedent. Andrew's own televised attempt to explain himself was one of the worst media appearances in royal history. The BBC Newsnight interview, where he claimed he couldn't sweat and offered bizarre excuses for his Epstein association, became an international scandal. That interview ended his public life. Now, years later, Sarah Ferguson may be preparing to speak on the very same issues, only this time with her inside perspective. And unlike Andrew, Ferguson knows how to handle a media room. She's done talk shows, interviews, documentaries. She knows how to connect emotionally. She's likable. She plays the misunderstood outsider well. That's what makes this especially dangerous. If she positions herself as a woman discarded by the institution, loyal to a fault, caught up in circumstances beyond her control, the public might listen, and the palace might lose whatever tight grip it still has on the narrative. But the royal family's fear goes deeper than just optics. There are concerns that she might intentionally or accidentally disclose information that contradicts Andrew's previous public statements. Or worse, say something that implicates others. Because if there's one thing the monarchy has tried to avoid, it's being drawn deeper into the Epstein scandal by association. But Ferguson's ties to the case are not abstract. She has publicly acknowledged receiving financial help from Epstein's associates. She has praised Epstein in the past, and she remained publicly supportive of Andrew long after most others distanced themselves. So when palace sources say they're worried she might speak too freely, it's not just about tact. It's about legal and reputational exposure. A slip of the tongue on camera could undo years of tightly managed royal damage control. Add to that the growing strain between her and Andrew. Reports indicate that he's told her to stay away from him even though they're still living on the same property. That detail says everything about where things stand. Whatever post-divorce arrangement once kept them unified has clearly fractured. And for Andrew, who continues to deny all allegations while refusing to cooperate with U.S. investigations, Sarah's potential candor is a very real threat. Because if she confirms his presence on Epstein's private island, or even just acknowledges that she asked him questions about it, questions he never answered, it changes everything. Suddenly, Andrew is no longer just avoiding investigators. He's being questioned by people in his own home. And that narrative would be catastrophic. The timing couldn't be worse. The royal family is still struggling to modernize its image while distancing itself from scandal. King Charles has taken a hard line on trimming the monarchy, pushing out non-working royals, and reinforcing public trust. A media frenzy over Sarah Ferguson's revelations could derail that entire strategy. And for Andrew, it's potentially devastating. He's already lost his royal titles, patronages, and public platform. His attempts to rebuild any semblance of a private life depend on the world not remembering what he's associated with. Sarah's interview, however restrained, would guarantee that the Epstein scandal is thrust back into the headlines. Only this time, it wouldn't be anonymous court filings or journalistic speculation. It would be coming from someone who lived next to the man at the center of it all. And Sarah's motivations? They're no mystery. She's facing significant financial pressure. Her brand deals have dwindled. Her public goodwill has eroded. And she's reportedly on the verge of being forced out of Royal Lodge, the one home she's maintained as her post-divorce lifeline. The palace no longer views her as essential. Andrew's standing is toxic. And Sarah, she's done being loyal for free. This interview is her bargaining chip, her reset button, her final shot at controlling the narrative that's followed her since the 90s. For decades, she's been labeled a scandal-prone royal outcast. Now, with the media ready to pay for her truth, she sees an opportunity to rewrite the story. Not as the reckless duchess, but as a woman caught in a storm of elite misconduct, royal silence, and financial vulnerability. The danger for her is simple. The same interview that could rescue her public image could also destroy it. She's walking a razor-thin line. Too defensive, and the public won't buy it. Too open, and she risks legal blowback. Too evasive, and she'd be accused of protecting Andrew. Too detailed, and she could implicate herself. Every word she says will be dissected. Every pause, every deflection, every contradiction will be headline material. And the consequences will reach far beyond her own reputation. Because what Sarah Ferguson says about Epstein, Andrew, and the royal family's response doesn't exist in a vacuum. It adds to an ongoing conversation about institutional secrecy, privilege, and the cost of silence. The British monarchy has spent years resisting that conversation. But if Sarah opens the door, even a crack, the flood will follow. So the question isn't just if she do the interview. The real question is, what happens after? If she goes forward, Andrew's legal team will have to brace for renewed scrutiny. The media will swarm the palace with questions. The public will demand answers. Politicians might weigh in. And the monarchy, for all its attempts to shield itself, will once again be dragged into the mess. All because one former duchess decided she'd had enough of being quiet. And if she doesn't go through with it, the mere fact that it was even considered sends a message. The royal family is not immune. Their secrets are only as safe as the people who keep them. And right now, one of those people is out of money, out of patience, and out of the house. This is more than just a tabloid story. It's a reckoning, one that forces the public, the press, and the palace to confront how far the monarchy will go to protect its own, and what happens when one of them breaks ranks. And now, with the world watching, it all comes down to a single choice. Sarah Ferguson has remained on the fringes of the royal story for decades, sometimes laughed at, sometimes pitied, often forgotten. But in this moment, with cameras ready and the headlines half written, she holds the power to pull the British monarchy right back into the global spotlight. Not with a scandal of her own, but by speaking on one that's never fully gone away. The Epstein connection has always hovered like a toxic cloud over Prince Andrew. His BBC interview didn't clear the air, it darkened it. His refusal to cooperate with US authorities hasn't helped, and his exile from public life may have satisfied the institution, but it never satisfied public curiosity. Now, the only person who lived side by side with him during those critical years is reportedly considering breaking her silence. And silence is exactly what the royals have relied on for survival. They don't explain, they don't confront, they outlast. But this strategy only works if everyone involved plays along. If Sarah Ferguson decides that her financial situation, her public image, or her personal truth is worth more than palace protocol, that silence collapses. The palace knows this. Andrew knows this. And whether Sarah fully realizes the weight of it or not, her potential interview is being viewed as a direct threat to everything they've tried to contain. Because even if she doesn't say anything legally incriminating, even if she simply hints at Andrew's behavior, or talks about their household dynamics during the height of his friendship with Epstein, people will read between the lines. And the lines are already under a microscope. What makes this so intense is the fact that the public doesn't trust Andrew. They didn't believe his "I was at Pizza Express" alibi. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.